Welcome along, you petrol heads, to a channel dedicated to the most exciting, outrageous and downright bonkers cars ever to grace tarmac. And don't even think about clicking away before subscribing. We've got more horsepower here than a Kentucky Derby after-party. Today we're strapping ourselves in for a high-octane joyride through 50 years of automotive history. We're talking about the sleek, the powerful, the downright ludicrous machines that have set pulses racing and redefined what's possible on four wheels. From the screaming engines of the 70s to the hybrid hypercars of the 21st century, we'll be exploring the engineering marvels, the record-breaking feats, and the sheer unadulterated coolness that make these cars legends. So buckle up, hold on tight, and get ready to unleash your inner speed demon. Now let's rewind to 1970, a time when sideburns were long, music was loud, and Lamborghini decided to unleash a raging bull upon the world, the Miura. This wasn't just another pretty face, it was a game changer, a revolution in automotive design. Before the Miura, mid-engine cars were practically unheard of, relegated to the racetrack and the odd experimental project. But Lamborghini, in their infinite wisdom, decided to stick the engine where it belonged, right behind the driver, like a wild animal ready to pounce. The result, a car that looked like it was going 200 miles per hour, standing still, with curves in all the right places, and a presence that could stop traffic faster than a police roadblock. The Miura wasn't just a car, it was a statement, a rolling sculpture that redefined what a supercar could be. But let's be honest, folks, a pretty face will only get you so far. What really mattered was the beating heart under that sculpted hood, a 4.0-litre V12 engine that sang an opera of power and performance. This wasn't some anemic little sewing machine. It was a fire-breathing monster, capable of propelling the Miura to a then staggering top speed of 171 miles per hour. Imagine yourself behind the wheel, the wind whipping through your hair, the roar of that V12 filling your ears as you rocket down the road, leaving everything else in a cloud of dust and envy. That, my friends, is the magic of the Miura. It wasn't just about brute force, though. The Miura's engine was a masterpiece of engineering, a symphony of pistons and valves that produced a sound so glorious it could make a choir boy weep with envy. It was a sound that said, "Get out of my way, I've got places to be and records to break." The Miura wasn't just a flash in the pan, a one-hit wonder of the automotive world. It was a trendsetter, a car that inspired a generation of designers and engineers to push the boundaries of what was possible. Its influence can be seen in countless supercars that followed, from the Ferrari Daytona to the Countach that succeeded it. The Miura proved that a car could be both beautiful and brutally fast, that it could be a work of art and a technological marvel. It cemented Lamborghini's place among the automotive elite and left an indelible mark on the history of the supercar. Even today, over 50 years later, the Miura still turns heads wherever it goes. It's a timeless classic, a reminder of a time when cars were more than just transportation. They were expressions of passion, power, and the relentless pursuit of automotive perfection. Right then, let's fast forward a decade to 1980, when shoulder pads were big, hair was bigger, and Porsche decided to inject a dose of pure adrenaline into the automotive world with the 911 Turbo. This wasn't just a sports car, it was a force of nature, a hurricane on wheels that left a trail of shattered expectations in its wake. Now, the 911 was already a bit of a legend by this point, known for its nimble handling and rear-engine shenanigans. But the addition of a turbocharger? Well, that's like giving a cheetah a rocket booster and a six-pack of Red Bull. The 911 Turbo was a game changer, a car that redefined what was possible in a road-going sports car. It was raw, it was visceral, and it was bloody quick, capable of hitting 60 miles per hour in a mere 4.9 seconds. That's faster than you can say turbo lag, which, by the way, was a very real thing back then. Now, some people said the 911 Turbo was a bit of a handful, what with all that power going to the rear wheels and the, shall we say, responsive handling. In fact, it earned itself a rather unfortunate nickname, the Widowmaker. But you know what? That's all part of its charm. The 911 Turbo wasn't for the faint of heart. It was a car that demanded respect, a car that separated the drivers from the posers. It was a challenge, a test of skill and bravery every time you got behind the wheel. And if you were good enough, skilled enough to tame this beast, well, then you were rewarded with an experience like no other. The feeling of the turbo kicking in, pinning you back in your seat as the world outside turned into a blurry mess. That was pure automotive ecstasy. The 911 Turbo wasn't just a fast car, it was a statement, a declaration that Porsche was a force to be reckoned with. It spawned countless imitators, but none could quite match the raw, visceral thrill of the original. It cemented the 911's place as one of the greatest sports cars of all time and helped to usher in the era of the turbocharged supercar. And you know what? The 911 Turbo is still going strong today, faster and more technologically advanced than ever before, but it's that raw, untamed spirit of the original that continues to inspire and excite enthusiasts around the world. It's a reminder that sometimes the best things in life are a little bit dangerous. The year is 1990. Margaret Thatcher's reign is ending. MC Hammer can't touch this, and out of Maranello bursts the Ferrari F40, Enzo Ferrari's 40th anniversary present to the world, and boy did it pack a punch. The F40 wasn't about luxury, it was raw, visceral and built for speed. That iconic wedge shape, those pop-up headlights and that massive rear wing weren't just for show, they were designed to cheat the wind. Underneath beat the heart of a beast. A 2.9-litre V8 force-fed by two turbochargers. It churned out 471 horsepower like strapping a rocket to your backside. The F40 demanded respect, separating drivers from posers. A true thoroughbred, its legacy echoes through automotive history. The F40's interior was sparse, Spartan, but Ferrari knew what mattered: performance. They stripped out all the unnecessary fluff, no power steering here. You wrestled it through corners, and the noise, a symphony of mechanical fury. On the open road, it was magic. 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. Top speed, 201 mph. This wasn't just a car, it was an experience, a visceral assault on the senses. The F40 wasn't just a car, it was a statement. It was Ferrari's way of reminding the world who was boss, of showing that even in the face of ever-tightening regulations, they could still produce a car that was pure, unadulterated driving pleasure. And the world took notice. The F40 became an instant icon, plastered on bedroom walls and featured in countless magazines and video games. It was the car that every kid, young and old, dreamed of driving. And for a lucky few, that dream became a reality. But the F40 wasn't just about numbers and statistics, it was about the feeling it evoked, the way it made you feel alive. It was a car that connected with you on a primal level, that spoke to the petrol head deep inside. And that, my friends, is why the Ferrari F40 remains one of the greatest supercars ever built. It's a legend, a masterpiece, a true icon of automotive history, and its influence can still be felt today in the design and performance of modern supercars. So next time you see an F40, take a moment to appreciate its beauty, its power, and its enduring legacy. The year 2000, the dawn of a new millennium, Y2K was a damp squib, and Britney Spears was still asking us to hit her one more time. Meanwhile, Honda was rewriting the supercar rulebook with the NSX. Supercars were temperamental beasts, high-strung divas needing mechanical sympathy and a chiropractor. But Honda did things differently. They combined racing pedigree, reliability, and innovation. The NSX challenged Ferrari and Porsche. It was about precision engineering and balance. A supercar you could drive every day, and it didn't compromise on performance. Underneath was a 3.2-litre V6 engine, not the biggest but full of character, a high-revving screamer happy to hit the red line. It produced 290 horsepower. Combined with a lightweight body and manual gearbox, it made for an exhilarating drive. Now I know what you're thinking. 290 horsepower doesn't sound like much, does it? Especially when you compare it to some of the other fire-breathing monsters we've talked about. But the NSX wasn't about outright speed, it was about the way it handled. This car danced through corners like a ballerina with razor-sharp steering and a chassis that felt like it was hardwired to your brain. It was predictable, it was confidence-inspiring, and it made you feel like a driving god. The NSX was a revelation, a car that proved that you didn't need a massive engine or a bone-jarring ride to have fun behind the wheel. It was a driver's car in the truest sense of the word, a car that rewarded skill and precision over brute force. And the best part, you could enjoy all this without having to remortgage your house. The NSX offered supercar performance and handling at a fraction of the price of its rivals. It was a giant killer, a car that proved that Honda could mix it with the best of them. The NSX was a game-changer, a car that forced other manufacturers to rethink their approach to supercar design. It showed that you didn't have to sacrifice usability for performance, that you could have a car that was both thrilling to drive and easy to live with, and its legacy lives on today. The new NSX, while a very different beast from its predecessor, still embodies many of the same principles: precision engineering, advanced technology, and a focus on driver involvement. The original NSX was a landmark achievement, a car that proved that Japan could build a world-class supercar. It was a car that challenged conventions, that pushed boundaries, and that ultimately redefined what a supercar could be. So, next time you see an NSX, remember that you're not just looking at a car, you're looking at a piece of automotive history. You're looking at the car that changed everything. The year is 2005. The world is still recovering from the cinematic abomination that was Catwoman. Crocs were somehow considered fashionable, and out of the ashes of Bugatti's glorious past rose a technological marvel, the Veyron. Nothing could have prepared me for the sheer lunacy of the Bugatti Veyron. This wasn't just a car. It was a 1,000 horsepower middle finger to the laws of physics, a testament to what happens when engineers are given an unlimited budget. The Veyron packed a quad-turbocharged W16 engine, a masterpiece of engineering that produced a mind-boggling 1,001 horsepower. Now, some people might say that the Veyron was all about straight-line speed, that it was a one-trick pony, and they wouldn't be entirely wrong. But when that one trick is accelerating from 0 to 60 mph in a mind-bending 2.5 seconds, well, that's a pretty damn good trick to have. The Veyron wasn't just quick, it was violently, ludicrously fast. It was the kind of speed that made your internal organs rearrange themselves, the kind of speed that made you question your own sanity. But what was even more impressive was the way the Veyron achieved that speed. It wasn't a frantic, high-strung experience like some supercars. No, the Veyron delivered its power with a sense of effortless grace, like a Concorde jet taking off. You just pressed the throttle and the world outside became a blur. And if you were brave enough to keep your foot planted, the Veyron would keep on accelerating until it hit its electronically limited top speed of 253 mph. It was officially the fastest production car in the world, and it held that title for what seemed like an eternity. But the Veyron was more than just a collection of impressive numbers. It was a statement, a symbol of what was possible when you pushed the boundaries of automotive engineering to their absolute limit. It was a car that rewrote the rules, that redefined what a supercar could be. And it wasn't just about speed either. The Veyron was also incredibly luxurious, with a cabin that was trimmed in the finest leather and Alcantara. It was a car that you could drive every day if you had a spare oil well or two lying around to fund your fuel habit. The Bugatti Veyron was a once-in-a-generation car, a car that captured the imagination of the world and left an indelible mark on automotive history. It was a car that proved that anything was possible if you dared to dream big enough. So the next time you see a Veyron, take a moment to appreciate its significance. It wasn't just a car, it was a masterpiece. Now, some people, and I won't name any names, might say that a proper supercar needs 12 cylinders, or at least 10. But then you get your McLarens, like this 2010 MP 412C strutting in with a measly 8.8. You could almost call it pedestrian. But hold your horses, or rather hold this car's horses, because while it might only have 8 cylinders, they're force-fed by not one, but 2 turbochargers. Twin turbos, the sort of thing that makes a hamster feel like a raging bull, turn this McLaren into an absolute monster. 0 to 60. You're looking at a smidge over 3 seconds. That's faster than you can say Nigel Mansell's moustache, and believe me, I've timed it. This car is so fast it makes other supercars look like they're stuck in treacle. It's not just about raw power though, is it? This thing handles like it's on rails. It's nimble, responsive, and corners flatter than a pancake on a plate. It's the kind of car that makes you want to find the twistiest road imaginable and just disappear. Now, I'll admit, when I first clapped eyes on the MP412C, I wasn't entirely sure what to make of it. It was a bit different, but then the best things often are, aren't they? Look at those lines, the way the air flows over that bodywork. This isn't just design for the sake of it, this is functional art. Every curve, every vent, every little flick is there for a reason, to cheat the wind and make this car stick to the road like glue. And speaking of sticking to the road, have a gander at that rear wing. It's not just some flimsy bit of plastic, oh no. This thing deploys like a hawk swooping down on its prey, providing downforce and stability at speed. It's enough to make a grown man weep with joy. The MP412C isn't just a pretty face though, it's packed with technology that would make a NASA engineer blush. Carbon fiber construction, active aerodynamics, a seamless shift gearbox. It's the future of motoring, right here, right now. Now, some might say that a car this technologically advanced takes the fun out of driving, but they'd be wrong. Dead wrong. The MP412C is a driver's car through and through. It's the kind of car that makes you feel alive, that connects you to the road in a way that few other machines can. It's raw, it's visceral, it's an absolute riot to drive. And the noise, oh good lord, the noise. That twin-turbo V8 sings a song that would make Pavarotti sound like a tone-deaf choir boy. It's a symphony of mechanical brilliance, a concerto of combustion, a bloody masterpiece. So, there you have it, the 2010 McLaren MP412C, a car that proves you don't need 10 or 12 cylinders to be a true supercar, a car that's fast, innovative, and most importantly, an absolute hoot to drive. What more could you possibly ask for? Now, I know what you're thinking. Jeremy, a hybrid in my supercar? That's like putting diesel in a Ferrari. And normally I'd agree with you. But then Porsche went and built the 2015 918 Spider, and it changed everything. See, this isn't some eco-warrior's wet dream, some milk float with a fancy badge. This is a proper fire-breathing, tyre-shredding hypercar. It just so happens to have a bit of electric help. And by a bit, I mean enough to power a small village. Underneath that sleek aerodynamic bodywork lies a 4.6-litre V8 engine that sounds like Thor gargling with nails. But that's not all. Oh no, there's also not one, but 2 electric motors, one for each axle. The combined output, a mind-bending 887 horsepower. That's enough to propel this hybrid hypercar from 0 to 60 in a scarcely believable 2.2 seconds. 2.2 seconds. That's faster than a cheetah on a sugar rush. It's faster than you can say. Is that a tree coming towards me? Now, I'll be the first to admit I'm not usually one for all this newfangled technology, but even I have to take my hat off to Porsche for what they've achieved with the 918 Spider. The way those electric motors work in harmony with that glorious V8 engine is nothing short of witchcraft. It's seamless, it's effortless, it's like they were always meant to be together. And then there's the battery pack. Now, you might think that having a massive battery would turn the 918 Spider into a lumbering behemoth, but you'd be wrong. Porsche has cleverly integrated the batteries into the car's structure, keeping the weight down and the handling sharp. But the real party trick is this: you can unplug this thing and drive it on electric power alone. That's right, you can silently waft through town feeling smugly superior to all those gas-guzzling plebs. Of course, all this technology would be for naught if the 918 Spyder wasn't an absolute weapon on the track, and trust me, it most certainly is. With its advanced aerodynamics, race-bred suspension and lightning-fast gearbox, this car devours corners like a starving man at an all-you-can-eat buffet. It's a masterpiece of engineering, a symphony of speed, a bloody riot to drive. But the 918 Spyder isn't just about brute force. It's also a beautifully crafted, exquisitely engineered piece of automotive art. It's a Porsche through and through, with a lineage that can be traced back to the legendary 917 race car. So there you have it. The 2015 Porsche 918 Spyder, a hybrid hypercar that proves that performance and efficiency can go hand in hand. A car that's not only fast, but also innovative, stylish, and a bloody good laugh to drive. What more could you possibly want? Now, when it comes to supercars, you usually think of your Ferraris, your Lamborghinis, your McLarens, but what about the Americans? Surely they must have something to offer. Well, as a matter of fact, they do, and it's called the 2017 Ford GT. Now, this isn't your uncle's Mustang with a shaker hood and a vinyl roof. This is a purpose-built, track-focused weapon designed to take on the best that Europe has to offer. And let me tell you, it doesn't disappoint. Underneath that low-slung, aerodynamic bodywork lies a twin turbocharged V6 engine. Yes, you heard that right, a V6. But before you start writing angry letters to Ford, this isn't just any V6. This thing pumps out a whopping 647 horsepower, which is more than enough to make your eyes water. And the noise, oh, the noise, it's a symphony of mechanical fury, a concerto of combustion, a proper full-blooded American bellow that'll rattle your teeth and wake the neighbors. Now, I'll admit, when I first saw pictures of the new Ford GT, I thought it looked a bit like a spaceship. But then I saw it in the flesh, and I have to say it's a real head-turner. Every curve, every line, every vent and duct has been meticulously sculpted to cheat the wind and stick this car to the road like glue. It's functional art, pure and simple. And then there's that rear wing. It's not just some flimsy bit of plastic. Oh no, this thing deploys like a falcon swooping down on its prey, providing downforce and stability at speed. It's enough to make a grown man weep with joy. But the Ford GT isn't just about looks, it's also packed with technology like active aerodynamics, carbon fiber construction, and a lightning-fast dual-clutch transmission. Now, you can't talk about the Ford GT without mentioning its racing pedigree. After all, this car was built to win races, and win races it has. In 2016, the Ford GT returned to Le Mans, 50 years after its historic 1-2-3 finish in 1966. And guess what? It won its class. That's right, the American underdog took on the European giants and emerged victorious. But the Ford GT isn't just a track monster. It's also a surprisingly refined and comfortable road car. You could quite happily drive this thing to the shops, provided you don't mind the attention. So there you have it, the 2017 Ford GT, a true American hero, a car that proves that the Yanks can still build a world-class supercar. It's fast, it's stylish, it's technologically advanced, and it's got a racing pedigree that's the envy of the world. What more could you possibly want? Now, we're talking about a car that's as subtle as a brick through a window. The Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. It's the kind of car that makes small children cry and grown men weep with joy. This, my friends, is not your average grocery getter. This is a statement. Firstly, let's address the elephant in the room, or rather the raging bull. This thing is loud. I mean, ear-splitting, wake the dead loud, but that's what you want from a Lamborghini, isn't it? A symphony of internal combustion that announces your arrival from miles away, and don't even get me started on the looks. It's like a stealth fighter jet got frisky with a Lamborghini Countach, all sharp angles, massive wings, and enough scoops and vents to make a Formula One car blush. It's outrageous, it's impractical, and it's absolutely brilliant. Underneath all that Italian flamboyance lies a beast of an engine, a 6.5-litre V12 that churns out a mind-bending 770 horsepower. That's enough grunt to tow a small moon out of orbit. Now, you might think that a car with this much power would be a handful to drive, a bit like trying to wrestle a greased crocodile while wearing ice skates, but you'd be wrong. Surprisingly, the Aventador SVJ is remarkably civilized, most of the time. Lamborghini has thrown everything but the kitchen sink at the SVJ's chassis. Rear-wheel steering, active aerodynamics, and a trick suspension system all work in harmony to keep this raging bull pointing in the right direction. And boy, does it grip. The SVJ generates so much downforce that you could probably drive it upside down in a tunnel. It's like it's glued to the tarmac, even when you're throwing it around corners like a madman. But don't think for a second that it's lost any of its Lamborghini DNA. Push it hard and it'll still try to kill you. In a good way, of course. The back end will step out with a flick of the right foot, and you'll be left giggling like a schoolgirl who just discovered boys. So there you have it, the Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. A car that's as bonkers as its looks suggest. It's loud, it's brash, and it's ridiculously fast, but it's also surprisingly sophisticated and even somewhat usable on a daily basis if you're brave enough. This is a car that will go down in history as one of the greatest Lamborghinis ever made. It's a fitting send-off for the Aventador nameplate and a reminder that Lamborghini is still at the top of its game. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a date with this Italian stallion, and by date I mean I'm going to find the nearest tunnel and see if all that downforce really works. Right, you lot gather round. We're about to delve into the world of hybrid hypercars, and no, it's not an oxymoron, though it might as well be. Ferrari, the prancing horse itself, has finally caved to the pressure and stuck some batteries in their flagship. Meet the SF90 Stradale. Now, before you start wailing and gnashing your teeth about the death of the naturally aspirated engine, let me assure you this thing is still properly mental. It's got a 4-litre twin-turbo V8 for crying out loud, but, and here's the kicker, it's also got 3 electric motors. Combined, this hybrid powertrain produces a scarcely believable 986 horsepower. That's right, nearly 1,000 horsepower from a car that can also potter around town on electric power alone. It's like having your cake and eating it, except the cake is a $1 million hypercar, and you know what the best part is? It's actually quite good for the environment. Relatively speaking, of course. I mean, it's still going to guzzle fuel like a thirsty camel at an oasis, but at least it's making an effort. Now, some of you might be thinking that adding electric motors to a Ferrari is sacrilege. You might be right, but I'll be honest, it's hard to argue with the results. This thing is absolutely ballistic. 0 to 60 miles per hour is dealt with in a mind-bending 2.5 seconds. That's faster than you can say, Mamma Mia. And if you keep your foot planted, it'll eventually reach a top speed of 211 miles per hour. Not bad for a car that can also sneak out of your neighborhood without waking the neighbors. But it's not just about straight-line speed. The SF90 Stradale is also incredibly agile and responsive. It handles like a go-kart on rails, thanks to its advanced all-wheel drive system and torque vectoring. And don't even get me started on the brakes. These carbon ceramic stoppers could bring a runaway train to a halt in a matter of seconds. They're so powerful that you'll swear your internal organs are trying to swap places. So there you have it. The Ferrari SF90 Stradale, a hybrid hypercar that's as fast as it is technologically advanced. It's a sign of things to come from Ferrari and a glimpse into the future of performance motoring. Some might say it's the end of an era, the death of the pure, unadulterated driving experience. But I say bring it on. If this is the future, then sign me up. Just imagine a world where you can have your cake and eat it. A world where you can enjoy the thrill of a high-revving engine, but also potter around town without a care in the world. A world where you can save the planet one tire-shredding burnout at a time. Well, folks, that's it for our whirlwind tour of 50 years of specialty sports cars. We've seen some absolute crackers, haven't we? From the screaming V12S of Lamborghini to the technologically advanced hybrids of Ferrari, it's been a wild ride. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content on the world's most incredible cars. Until next time, keep your engines revving and your eyes on the road.